All right, mic check, mic check. Are we good now? All right, we're good now. I'm coming out. I'm coming out with Blade. I'm coming out with Blade. The mighty sword. Come on up here, buddy.
Nigga just has a sword in it. Man.
You came in the back chat. Hey y'all, Hassan didn't know I was gonna do this. He was surprised as hell. Hey, the Lake of Fire is not America, and I'm about to. Hey, to hell with belt to ass. All these little kids saying belt to ass, sword to flesh.
All right. That's one way of starting things off.
That's one way of starting it off, huh? Spirit and power. I had to throw this mighty garment on with the mighty sword for this lesson right here. It's going down. What's going on, though, brother? Talk to us.
Man, this is gonna be somebody says I grabbed the shield. All praise to the Most High. Listen, y'all. There's a scripture in Joel when it says that the Most High in the last days will pour out His Spirit upon all flesh, and so, knowledge increasing in the last days is also a part of that. This isn't to be controversial. This isn't to be, just trying to cause a ruckus in the community. But when we see certain things in the Bible, there's, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. And it really is just that simple. We can't just hold on to something because that's what we were taught. That's what we critique Christians for. We critique Christians and other religions for, teaching something that they know inherently is wrong. So we can't do that. And so, Lord willing, with this video, y'all will be edified as to what our stance is in regards to the Lake of Fire. So
that's right. And I sent this out to I sent this out to about 10 to 12 camp leaders, telling them to peer review the work, swing some sword at it, add to it if you want to. We want to always make sure it's battle tested. I want to say I appreciate and I'm grateful for the brothers who did respond, who have already looked over it, who is looking over it, and who will look over it. I appreciate that. Some of these brothers were saying that we're in agreements with it. They was already seeing it like this. This is a confirmation. This is more clarity, more validity. So I appreciate you brothers for sure. All praise to the Most High.
We appreciate you too, Elder Apostle Har, because I know you're going to be making a response video to this one.
And for those of you who are mad at it, you already know we're willing to, of course, everything don't got to be a debate, but we're willing to have a public or private conversation about it as well. That's how we iron out and figure out truth. Yeah. That's how we iron out and figure out truth. What is going to withstand the test of the sword.
Yeah. And before we get into it too, I want to shout out the brother Joel from Yahweh All from Sons of Thunder, because he did a video where he talked about his belief in regards to Yahweh Shai pre-existing or not. And we've done our given y'all our thoughts on it. So obviously we don't agree. Nonetheless, I think it's the good that comes from that is it shows the respect that brothers have for one another. And it shows the ability that we can have to put differences aside, egos aside, all that to say, listen, I respect you as a brother. I love you as a brother. And this is what we see in the Bible. Let's talk about it. Because like Pri said, everything doesn't have to be a debate. We can get on the phone and just chop it up and bounce ideas back and forth off each other's head. You know what I mean? I and Joel did that in Atlanta last year. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be, brothers.
All three of us, all three of us did. Mm-hmm. I did that with Divine Prospect last year, with some issues that we had with dealing with Paul. All praises. Israelite Defense. I ain't seen him in a minute. Ain't he opposition?
No, right. No, he's not.
Okay. Anyway, But peace and blessings to everybody watching. Like, share, subscribe. We're going to get into this presentation. Now, I'm going to put a PDF. I did tell Yaquab to send it to Yajadiah. I sent it to Yaquab. I told him to send it down there to the Masada. I'm feeling like I'm sending epistles to the churches through the Spirit of God. But we're here today. Would you guys? I could put the PDF in the description after, or I can put the link right now, so you guys can, go through it simultaneously with us. What do you think, Hassad? Just do it after, or what?
I mean, I think during is good, and then that way people who are watching afterwards don't have to wait to the end of the video.
Okay, just do it after. Wait, say that one more time.
I'm saying if we put it in the comment board right now, that way people that are watching this don't have to wait till all the way to the end to have access to it. They can see the link in the live chat and also read along.
Okay, maybe we'll do it after, because I don't want them scrolling and missing the imagery. I got some powerful imagery that I created for this presentation through the Spirit of God. And we're going to get right into it. Israelite Defense. I'm just saying, I haven't seen you around, brother. Where you been at? I ain't seen you around. I ain't seen you on my comment board, his comment board. You've been on Vocab's comment board. I don't know where you been at, brother. What's going on? Anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to hold my sword in my hand this whole time. Hey, remember General Muhammad? He had that knife in his hand the whole class,
and he was just
twirling it. Hey, General Muhammad, you ready to get on my level, brother? UPK. So now I'm playing. Class is in session. That's right. Let's share my screen. Make sure it looks all nice here. Now, what we're gonna do is we're not gonna go over every single. We might be able to. But this is going to be like a general overview and summary of everything.
Yeah. Here. Because listen, Priest and I were on the phone and we earlier for like a little over an hour and some change. And the type of topics that this segues into, like it was almost like we were at the point where, we should just do a video on the entire book of Revelation and the entire end times in chronological order, which I know people would love to see and they've been hitting us up about. So this is like the appetizer for that, if that makes sense.
Right now, should we go down or just stay right here on the side, or should we drop down? Or you know what? Let's do it like we did it last time. We can do it like this, or we can do it like this.
Yeah, Brother Elijah, he was just joking, King. It was an inside joke about the opposition thing. I promise you, brother.
I just want to see you around more, brother. That's all. We love you. You used to ask some really good questions. But I'm pretty sure that this. Oh, also too, before we get started, Mostly One West teaches the lake of fire is America. Now, going into this lake of fire, you're going to get a better understanding of Armageddon. A lot of Israelites thought that Armageddon in the Valley of Jehoshaphat was one single unified war.
Yeah.
It's not. So this lesson takes you down so many roads where you get clarity in the order of prophecy and the sequence of events in the last times. All right. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna stay like this so I can be seen with my sword, just in case. Listen, any of you got? Oh, we understand, Hassad. Go ahead and tell what you was gonna tell. What you was gonna tell him.
Concerning what?
We understand that there's going to be.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of questions in regards to this. And listen, we love nothing more than questions, but this is specifically to focus on the topic of this video, which is America is not the lake of fire. And then we're going to go into proving where the lake of fire actually is. So any questions that are kind of offshoots of that, just save it for now and for another video, if that's cool.
Hey, I got to keep switching arms. Pause. I got to keep switching arms, man. This Excalibur is heavy. Somebody said my arm's gonna give out by the end of class. Okay. So yeah, save your questions for the end, please. Write them down. because your questions will help bring further clarity. All right. So now let's go. Black Israelites wrong on this. And Hassad, I will I'll read, and then I would like for you to emphasize and harp on points as well. So this is the imagery. This is the imagery right here of the biblical description of the lake of fire. The biblical description of the lake of fire, it actually starts in Basra and it ends in Megiddo, which is also known as Armageddon.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it, it looked like a snake, right? It looked like a snake, but see, a river keeps flowing. So even though it's shaped like serpentine, it still has a start and ending point. So it still can be considered a lake of fire. So it says the doctrine of the lake of fire has long been misunderstood, confused with Christian mythology, or misapplied to America's coming nuclear destruction. We're not abandoning that at all. But when we rightly divide the scriptures from Isaiah and Ezekiel to Revelation, the second Ezra, a far clearer picture emerges that the lake of fire is not America, but a literal, visible, divine judgment zone that begins in Basra, Edom, stretches through a nearby wilderness of purging, and concludes at Armageddon, where Yahushua crushes the beast and its religious deceivers. Anything on that aside?
Yeah, and just if you guys can see the imagery on the right, this is just further proof that the battle Armageddon and the battle at the Valley of Jehoshaphat are not the same battle, but they are in both literally and in terms of physically and in terms of the time period in close proximity to one another. So if you look at Armageddon, is the Valley of Megiddo. There you see it on the top right there, Valley of there you see Megiddo, and then you have Jehoshaphat, which is underneath. So they're not the same. They're close, but they're not the exact same.
Right. Okay. Let's continue. This final fiery path will consume the enemies of Israel, Edomites, 2/3 of wicked Israelites, and world militaries, NATO and EU, before transitioning into a new phase of dominion where Israel rules and the other nations serve. Backed by prophecy, geography, and a consistent timeline. We got to be consistent, y'all, and logical. This study reveals the true location, purpose, and phases of the lake of fire, and it completely dismantles false doctrines that spiritualize, got to get on the Christians too, or misplace the most serious judgment event in Scripture. Look at Yahweh. Look at an accurate depiction of Yahushua crushing these Edomites. Okay, let's continue. Section 1. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. The introduction was crazy though. Section 1. America is Babylon, not the lake of fire.
I can read from here if you want.
Go ahead.
So it says, America is Babylon, but is not the lake of fire. America is mystery Babylon, spoken of in Jeremiah 51, Isaiah 13, and in Revelation chapter 17 to 18. A corrupt global empire destined for divine destruction. So, yes, America will be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. People were probably going to ask, are you guys saying that America won't be destroyed? No, it absolutely will be destroyed. And Jeremiah 21 and 25 says it will be a burnt mountain, a perpetual desolation. And that's something that ancient Babylon never experienced, right? Over there in Iraq right now. It says America, which is mystery Babylon, spoken about in Revelation 17, will be utterly destroyed by fire. Here's some very important points. I want y'all to listen to this. Very important. According to Jeremiah 50 and 40, its fall is compared to Sodom and Gomorrah. Not just Jeremiah 50, but Isaiah 13 talks about how as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. There's a multiplicity of scriptures that refer to this place of destruction being similar to that of Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction, right? It says, is compared to Sodom and Gomorrah, cities that burns completely, but are not still burning today. You can go to Sodom and Gomorrah right now. You're not going to get burned, right? It says, Revelation 18, 9 to 10, and Revelation 18 and 18 say the kings and merchants see the smoke of her burning, not the flames. Meaning the destruction is complete, meaning it's wholly desolate. I think that's what the Bible says. It's wholly desolate, completely and utterly destroyed. Meaning the destruction is complete, but the smoke is a witness, not a sign of ongoing fire. Finally, Jeremiah 51 and 29 says Babylon becomes a desolation without an inhabitant, showing the land is left empty and cursed, not an eternal inferno.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we taught. I want to tell you guys something, though. Just like Sodom, Josephus and Philo says Sodom was still smoking and smoldering. It wasn't on fire. It was still smoldering during the first century. That's what's going to happen with America from this thermonuclear destruction. 2000, and then what? Sodom was about 2,000 years before Josephus and Philo, and it was still smoldering. It's going to be that same way with America, not on fire, but definitely smoldering for millenniums. Let's keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then, well, do you have the perpetual thing? Remember the example I gave concerning the perpetual desolation?
Well, I didn't put it in there because there's nowhere in the Bible where it says it will be perpetually on fire. It just says perpetual desolation. So I didn't need to use that.
Got you. Okay, perfect. All right. Meanwhile, the lake of fire is not a temporary event. It's everlasting judgment.
Right, because the heathens are going to still be sinning. So they're going to have to get, when they do go off, some of them are going to be subject to getting cast in that lake of fire. That's right outside the kingdom, as we're going to show you. Go ahead.
It's not nuclear. It's divine. This is
also too, Salakia. Anybody who got the PDF, all you camp leaders who got the PDF, you have a different one. So I'm going to put this updated one. That was just a rough draft. I'm going to put the updated one in the description box. I'm going to drop it right in the chat after we get done with these slides. So you have like 80% of the breakdown. Go ahead. And some things we took away, some things we added. Go ahead.
It's not nuclear. It's divine. This is Yahweh baptism by fire, which is 3 and 11.
Oh my God.
And that baptism, now watch this. And that baptism, it begins after America is already gone. Which, if it begins after America is destroyed, then that means America cannot be the lake of fire because obviously it's been destroyed already. Babylon is destroyed in Revelation 18. The lake of fire doesn't appear until Revelation 19, which is proof that Babylon is not the lake of fire. And for the record, this is just one arguendo. There's literally not one verse verbatim that says, and Babylon is the lake of fire. Just throwing that out there. It says, so let's not confuse a nuclear warhead with Yahweh's wrath.
Now, a lot of people, and I brought this out in my previous camp, but I never talked about it. Yahweh's baptism by fire is the lake of fire. We're going to prove that. He starts it. He's throwing people in it. It's his. We're going to prove that. Everybody stops at 11. Don't even read 12 or 13. And to let you guys know, the reason I even started studying this and researching this, and then Hassan looking into it as well, is a brother on every Tuesday we do the Genesis Generals class. A brother asked me a question. He said, "Hey, priest, I'm trying to sharpen up my sword, right? I need some more precepts on how the lake of fire is America, Babylon." And I'm like, "All right, I got you." I said, "Let me find one." I didn't find a single one. So this is what put me in the spirit and led me down this path. All right, we done with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Section 2, the lake of fire begins in Edom, specifically Basra. Let's go.
So now let's talk about where the lake of fire begins. It begins in Edom.
Oh, Salakia. For those of you who want the images, I'll package up a zip file and you can get the PDF and the images all together. Yeah. Go ahead, Salakia.
So again, just for anybody that's just now arriving, 1, the lake of fire is not the United States of America, and 2, the lake of fire is not some spiritual place that it's not like hell that we were taught in Christianity. That's not what the Bible is talking about. It's an actual geographical location, the same way Sodom and Gomorrah is a actual geographical location. Or I'm jumping the gun just slightly. The Valley of Hinnom, is an actual geographical location, and Gehenna were all actual geographical locations.
Mhm.
No different. It says Yahushua returns to Edom first, not Jerusalem or America. That's Isaiah 63, 1-6. When it says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? It says the first place he touches down, Basra. It's personal for him. He treads the winepress and crushes the grapes alone. That's what he says in Isaiah 63. Matter of fact, let me just read it real quick.
Mhm.
In Isaiah 63, I'm gonna put up in a couple other versions just to make the reading a little easier. So Isaiah 63 and 1 in the NLT, it says, who is this who comes from Edom, from the city of Basra, with his clothing stained red? Who is this in royal robes, marching in his great strength? It is I, the Lord, announcing your salvation. It is I, the Lord, who has the power to save. Then in verse 2, it says, why are your clothes so red, as if you've been treading out grapes? So he's being asked, why are your clothes so red? It looks like you've been jumping on grapes, because that's how you make wine. Is you get a big barrel of grapes, and people would step on them. And then if you're wearing all whites, then you would, or really whatever color, depending on how long you're there, it's going to turn the color of the grape juice, right? And so it then goes on to say, it is I, the Lord, announcing your salvation to save. Why are your clothes so red? Verse 3, I have been treading the winepress alone. No one was there to help me. In my anger, I have trampled my enemies as if they were grapes. In my fury, I have trampled my foes, and their blood has stained my clothes. This is what Christ is going to do when he comes back, which goes right into Revelation 14 about the sickle and how the angel tells Christ, now it's your time to return. Where does he return? Isaiah 63 tells us right here, Basra. Mm-hmm. That's where he destroys the grapes. But it says, let's go to the next one. It says, why Edom? So why would Christ return to Edom? Why would that be the first place that he will go? Because the Most High and Christ hate Edom and the people. Isaiah 34 tells us that Edom becomes a land of burning pitch, a divine blaze that never goes out after he gathers them,
right?
Destroys them and sets the land ablaze. Verse 6, this is Isaiah 34 and 6. For the Lord has a sacrifice in Basra. Specifically, that's what it says.
Mm-hmm. Let's keep going.
Revelation 14, exactly. Revelation 14 and 15. These same grapes that we just read about in Isaiah 63 are crushed outside the city.
Right. Being that Basra in Jerusalem, Basra is just south of Jerusalem. Go ahead.
It says, and cast into fire and brimstone.
Whoa. So now we're not even to the location yet. And we are at the location, but we see this fire and brimstone is outside the city. When you see outside the city, especially in Revelation, it's talking about outside of Jerusalem. Keep going.
Do you want me to pull up these verses or no?
No, it's good.
Okay. But you guys see the verse on the screen. It says, fire and brimstone is the wine of the wrath of God. This also happens outside the city, Jerusalem. More scriptural location of where the lake of fire is. Revelation 14 and 20. I want everybody to listen. By the space of 1,600 furlongs.
Uh-oh.
KMP, all praise the Most High. Thank you, family. It says, okay, so what is 1,600 furlongs? It's the distance from Edom to Megiddo, the land to where the battle, where Armageddon takes place, which is Megiddo, showing where the lake of fire the radius in which the lake of fire will take place.
Right. And that goes back to the first image that we showed you guys.
Yeah.
How is it saying that this wine press is the same distance from Edom to Megiddo, from Basra to Megiddo, and we didn't even before I even concluded that it was from Basra to Megiddo, because people are getting put in the lake of fire in Megiddo, which is Armageddon, people getting put in the lake of fire in Basra. Before I even got on Revelation 14 and 20, it gives us the distance of the wine press. Wine press also synonymous with the lake of fire. Keep going.
Yeah, and then I would add, what is the symbolism for somebody that would rebut this? What does it mean in verse 20 in Revelation?
Why would he even mention it?
Yeah, the 1,600 furlongs, which is, I believe, 180 miles. 180 miles what? Well, tells you it's Revelation 14 and 20. The grapes were trampled in the winepress outside the city. Outside what city? And blood flowed from the winepress and a stream about 180 miles. What does that mean? It says, okay. Next one in Numbers 24 and 17, more evidence for this outside the city thing, or where all this where all the grapes being destroyed, where it takes place.
Where's the grape crushers?
Where are the grape crushers?
No disrespect to the Jordan Downs, right? But
well, the green, they say the people who are not good over there, the green grapes. The green.
Yeah. The green grape crusher.
But in Numbers 24 and 17, it says, Yahweh Shai, who is the star out of Jacob in that chapter, destroys the Edomites outside the city, outside Jerusalem. That is in Edom, specifically Basra. These would most likely be the people who wear the hat, right?
You can just say it, the Jewish community, because Yahweh Shai, the reason that Yahweh Shai is coming back and stomping out Edomites in Basra, he has to save us and take us to our home, but there's some people in our home, so he has to grab them out of our home. So this is a specific group of Edomites, the Amaleks, and they're being taken out of our home, crushed in Basra, so that we can now occupy our home.
You know what this reminds me of too? Watch this. Now, Isaiah 4. Now, let me know if I'm tripping. I don't want to add too much to this, Deacon, but remember this, right? Let me know if I'm tripping. I'll stop immediately. In Isaiah 14, which takes place in the kingdom, that's the day where the Lord will give us rest, right? And in Deuteronomy 25 and 19, it says, therefore it shall be when the Lord your God hath given you rest from all your enemies round about in the land which the Lord your God giveth thee for an inheritance, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. This could be a small, like a prequel to what's getting ready to happen to Obadiah. When Christ comes back, he's got to go get on Amalek, because that's what all the kings of Israel, that's what they were supposed to do. King Saul failed in doing that.
Exactly. Right? He got to keep that law. How Shai is laws. Exactly. He got to keep that law. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go next one. It says in Revelation 19 and 13, his garments are already bloody before the war in Armageddon with NATO and the EU even begins. What was he doing in heaven? Was he killing people in heaven? Is that what was going on? No, he came to the earth and was destroying the Edomites in Basra. That's because he's already been through Edom. Exactly.
Okay, let's keep going.
So now,
look at this imagery.
That's hard. In Matthew 25, verse 41, it says, everlasting fire.
Hey, we got to put this in book form. With all this imagery. Go ahead.
It says, everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels.
Right. What did Yahweh Shai mean when he said that this everlasting fire, which is the lake of fire, is prepared for the devil and his angels?
It says, this fire is ultimately for Esau.
That's why.
Yeah, in the grand scheme.
Go ahead.
It says, starts with them and ends them for good. Obadiah 1 and 18.
Here comes a revelation. How many of y'all thought that we was just going to gather the Edomites after 1,000 years and just put gasoline on them and burn them? Nah, they getting put in the same lake that they got put in 1,000 years prior to Obadiah 1 and 18. Read that.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is Numbers 35 and verse 33, when it says, you shall not pollute the land wherein you go, for blood it defiles the land, and blood cannot. What does it go on to say? You have to cleanse the land by the people who basically defiled it, by their blood. That's how we're going to purge part of the land of Israel, because that's ultimately going to be we're going to get the Edomites and we're going to put them in the lake of fire. It says, this same lake of fire will be the place where the remaining Edomites are cast into be exterminated after 1,000 years of slavery in the kingdom, which is Obadiah 1 and 18. In the house of Jacob shall be a flame. This is Obadiah 1 and 18. In the house of Joseph a flame. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. And it says they shall kindle in them. They will put them in the lake of fire. It says lake of fire doesn't magically appear in Armageddon, where NATO and the EU armies are put in the lake of fire. Revelation 19 and 20. It starts in Edom and spreads like a wildfire to the wilderness and then to Armageddon.
Section 3. Obadiah 1 and 19, because this is what somebody might posit. says we will possess the land of Edom. So how can it start? How can the lake be? How can parts of Edom's land, Basra, be a part of the lake of fire if Obadiah 1:19 says we're going to possess some of Edom? Go ahead.
Yeah. And before I do that too, in Psalm 72, it tells you that when Christ returns, that he's going to reign, he's going to rule the whole earth. That would mean that, because again, our previous understanding was that America was going to be the lake of fire. Technically, if the whole earth is going to be ruled by Christ, that would mean he would have rule over America, which would be the lake of fire. So if someone wants to rebuttal what we're saying with, well, how can the lake of fire be in Edom if that's our land? Technically, the whole earth would be Christ's land, yet America would be like, right, exactly. I hope you guys understood that. Anyway, but wait, someone says, doesn't Obadiah 1:19 say Israel will possess Edom? How could it be the lake of fire? How are we going to possess the lake of fire? Actually, Obadiah 1:19 says we will possess the mountains of Esau. Then we'll just read it. Obadiah 1:19. Then my people living in the Negev will occupy the mountains of Esau or Edom. The mountains of Esau, also called Mount Seir, are primarily located south of Basra.
That's right.
Which is lake of fire starting point. So it's going to be south of the starting point. So yes, we will possess all the land of Edom, but the habitable parts will be in the south of Basra.
Right. It's very simple. We possess the mountains of Esau, as the scriptures say. Section 4, the wilderness. Next step, judgment. Let's talk about it, y'all. Go ahead.
So once Edom/Basra is torched, Yahushua shifts gears for fire baptism. It says, and the focus turns to the children of Israel. He gathers his people to the wilderness, which is Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 33 to 38. Which is where the new covenant also we enter in. Not Mount Sinai, right? Not Saudi Arabia, from all nations, not including the wicked Israelites and those who took the mark of the beast in America/Babylon.
Yeah, harp on that.
Yeah.
Also, too, somebody said, well, I take this down later. I'm taking this as soon as we're done. I'm taking this down. You better screen record it. It's like I'm playing, y'all. It was a joke. Go ahead.
Let me just get a couple scriptures on what I mean real quick with that last point. Let me get them in chronological order. 1 second, Charles. So pull this up in Revelation. Okay, so three verses in Revelation. Let me read this last part again. It says, from all nations, not including the wicked, excuse me, not including the wicked. Hold on. I don't know. I got that feeling, y'all. If you don't know if it's going to be another sneeze or if it's just going to go away. I went away. It says, from all nations, not including the wicked Israelites and those who took the mark of the beast in America. So what we're saying is very simple, and I'm going to demonstrate it with scripture. When you read Ezekiel 20, or even you read Deuteronomy 30 and other scriptures, when it says that the Lord will gather his people and bring them to the wilderness, it's all the Israelites, excluding the Israelites that are wicked here in America. Because the Israelites that are wicked here in America, which is Babylon the Great, are going to be destroyed. How do I know this?
By the plagues thereof.
Yeah, right. So in Revelation 11, I'm going to start right here in verse 12. It says, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. So this is when the Lord delivers his people. They're going to ascend into a chariot into heaven, and their enemies are going to see them. But who is going to ascend into heaven, into the chariot? Revelation 15 tells you. Revelation 15, I'll start at verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. The last plague is complete destruction, right? Now look at verse 2. Look what it says. And these plagues are specifically for Babylon, right? It tells you these plagues, when you read Revelation 16, it oppresses the hell out of Babylon, just like the plagues of Egypt did. But look what it says right here, Revelation 15 and 2. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stands on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. Now, what does this mean right here? This is the righteous. The righteous obviously are the ones who get the victory. John speaks about that in his epistle. We have gotten the victory. The victory is enduring unto the end. This is the end right here. And they have endured all the way to the end and got victory over the beast.
Right.
Now, why? That means that they're getting saved. Okay. Why does this matter? And then maybe if I'm kind of oversaturating this. You can shorten it up, Deacon. But look at this in 3 chapters later, Revelation 18. In Revelation 18, verse 4, it kind of parallels Revelation 11 when it said they ascended into heaven in a cloud. But who? It's going to tell you who. Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive none of her plagues." So in Revelation 18, the people who are ascending into the chariot who are getting saved are not partaking of any of the plagues.
Right.
Which would be destruction, which would be all the plagues in Revelation 16. How can someone who takes the mark of the beast, how can someone who is wicked, how can someone who sinned against the Most High
in Babylon
specifically, how can they get into a chariot and get delivered? No, the people who got the victory were delivered.
Exactly. Yeah.
And matter of fact, by the Lamb, I think. Let me see. If I can't find this, it's fine. Okay. Anyway, similar to ancient Egypt, remember we had to strike the blood on the doorpost, that the destroyer would not come and destroy us when the plagues would hit Egypt and things of that nature. If you don't believe in the Messiah, at least, or basically have a covering from the Most High, how are you going to get delivered? No, you would die in ancient Egypt, just like the same thing happened in what our people during the time of the Exodus. Imagine if an Israelite family didn't have that blood on their doorpost. They're going to suffer just like the Egyptians did. So the wicked of our people in this place, they're going to suffer right along with Babylon. So I hope that makes sense.
Power.
So let's keep going. It says, all right. So then it says, wilderness of the people. That's what Ezekiel 20 says. I will bring you to the wilderness of the people. It says the phrase is not wilderness of Israel, but wilderness of the people. So this would suggest a geographic region associated with surrounding Gentile nations, not inside the tribal inheritance, somewhere between Edom and Armageddon. Because remember, in Ezekiel 20, the rebels are also going to be in the wilderness. But in verse 38 says that he's going to purge the rebels and they will not enter into the land of Israel. So wherever the wilderness is not the land of Israel.
Punch landed.
Yeah.
That's a punch landed. Punch landed. Let's keep going. It's about to get spookier. Now, before we go to this next slide, it's getting deeper and deeper and crazier through the Spirit of God. Put a G in the chat. A big G or a little G, if you're walking with us. Are we going too fast? Is it simple or is it too complex and intricate? I feel like I just simplified it, but some of y'all went to public school like me, and we might not be as learned as the others.
Yeah, and if somebody said going a little too fast, I appreciate that. That's good for us. Please let us know if we're going too fast. And one thing I love too about, shout out to the brothers in the Genesis varsity, shout out to the brothers in the Genesis officers chat, shout out to everybody, shout out to all the Israelites, of course. But I'm bigging up the Genesis right now, because when we put this together, it wasn't just all right, this is it and do as we say. We reached out to all the brothers that are in leadership in Genesis, and not just them, but anybody.
Every member.
And like, hey, brothers, give us some pushback on this. Give us some questions. Give us some thoughts and comments. And so we wanted to be able to make sure that this is the truth. Duh. We don't make sure that what we're teaching is actually accurate. So let us know if you guys have some pushback. Let us know if you guys have some questions.
Yeah, at the end, of course.
At the end, right. And let us know if we're going too fast, because we want to make sure that all of this gets across.
I'll answer this one question. So the wicked Israelites will not be beamed up out of Babylon, correct?
Yeah, no.
They gotta eat the plagues here, but they will be. Let's not. I already talk about this in section 6, I think. So let's just keep watching. I'm not gonna answer anything, because more than likely these slides are gonna answer your question. So This is the next one right here. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
It will take 2 seconds just to further answer the brother's question, kind of compact. Revelation 15 tells you who gets beamed up out of Babylon. It's those who got the victory over the beast, over the name of the beast, and over the mark of the beast. Those are the righteous. That's it. All right. So 2/3 of Israel will not make it. Zechariah 13:8-9 says 2 parts are cut off and die, casted into the lake of fire.
Ooh-wee. This is going to tell you where the lake of fire is at as well. Go ahead.
Revelation 14:9. Those who took the mark of the beast in America die there and are resurrected to taste the lake of fire. So you're going to die, and then you're going to die again in the lake of fire if you're wicked here in America. It says Revelation 14:20 happens outside the city.
Right. And really too, just to harp on that first point, we know the 2/3 and 1/3 concept is in the wilderness. The 2/3 got to get that fire, that lake of fire stretching from Basra to Megiddo. Just giving you location. Keep going.
Matthew 3:10. It says Matthew 3:10-12 says he gathers his wheat. Christ gathers his wheat. But what does he do with the chaff? He burns it.
No, at this point, we have to read Yahweh Shai's baptism because they need to know that is the lake of fire is Yahweh Shai's baptism. Let's go to Matthew 3. We're going to go from 11 to 13.
So this is Matthew 3:11. This is what John the Baptist says. He says, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that comes after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire.
And with fire. So Christians would say the Holy Spirit is the fire. That's because they don't read. Keep going.
Very next verse, verse 12. Whose fan is in his hands.
He's fanning. What is he fanning?
And he will thoroughly purge his floor.
His floor.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And gather his wheat into the garner.
Gather the wheat and what?
And burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire.
Unquenchable fire. So he's gathering the Israelites. This is talking about the wilderness. And 2/3 are going to have to experience Yahweh Shai's fire that he also started in Basra.
Yeah.
Gratata.
And this lets you know this is a unique type of a fire too. When he says it with an unquenchable fire.
So when you hold this one, you get.
So further expounding on it, Matthew 13:42 verse 42, it says the tares, the parable of the wheat and the tares are thrown into the fire. The tares are the wicked, right?
Right now we already corrected that the tares is not a heathen dad and Israelite mom. Right. We already corrected that. The flowing, remember, the introduction said consistency. The fluidity of the scriptures, especially dealing with the wheats, tares, and fire, is always about the 2/3, 1/3 righteous or wicked Israelites. So these same tares, which are the wicked Israelites, they're getting burned in that lake of fire. That's the 2/3.
Yeah, they're the wicked, because the field. Remember, what do you say? The field is the world. In with Matthew 13 concerning the parable of the wheat and the tares. And so amongst the righteous, amongst the wheat, there's going to be there's going to be wicked. He takes the righteous, separates them, and then takes the tares, the wicked, and then burns them. That's what Matthew 13:40-42. Now ask yourself, if that's talking about the Israelites, which it is, where is this going to take place? Where is it going to happen? Where are they going to get burned? How are they going to get burned? Matthew 8:12. The children of the kingdom are cast, same language, are cast out into utter darkness. Where? Into the lake of fire. Because that's what Ezekiel 20 says. They're going to be brought to the wilderness and they're going to be purged there. My bad.
For the question, so this question somebody asked about, a lot of y'all asked about Gehenna, right? A lot of y'all asked about Gehenna, which is also known as the Valley of Hinnom. All right. So now let's talk about this. Why is hold on.
Also, too, let me know if you think I'm tripping too. Because remember in Ezekiel 20, it says that he's going to plead with us, like as he pleaded with our fathers in the wilderness. Well, how does he plead with us? By fire. Isaiah 66, by fire will he plead.
Yeah. So for those of you who asked about Gehenna, is the lake of fire Gehenna? No, it's not big enough. Gehenna is only about 6 blocks. It's not big enough. But this slide right here is going to explain why Yahweh Shai was likening the lake of fire to Gehenna. It's basically the same concept. Go ahead.
This is Matthew 5:22. And so Matthew 5:22, Matthew 10:28, Matthew 23:33. Yahweh Shai taught about the lake of fire, likening it to Gehenna. Gehenna is not the lake of fire itself, but Yahweh Shai used it as a visual teaching tool to warn of a final judgment. Mm-hmm. So he's using it, he's drawing from it to kind of illustrate the similarities in it. It says, but Yahushua used as a visual teaching tool to warn of a final judgment. So let's break it down, right? What is Gehenna? Gehenna is derived from the Hebrew Gai Hinnom, the Valley of Hinnom, located just outside Jerusalem. Interesting. Remember how all this stuff is taking outside the city, outside of Jerusalem. In ancient times, it became a site of child sacrifices to Molech. Later, a garbage dump where fires burned continually to consume waste and dead bodies. Yahushua used Gehenna as a symbolic preview of the real lake of fire to come, a place of death, destruction, and irreversible judgment.
Speak on that real quick for about 20 seconds.
Yeah. So again, when Christ speaks about Gehenna, when you read these scriptures in Matthew 5, and Matthew 10, and Matthew 23, and you look at the Greek, it'll probably tell you Gehenna, right? Or sometimes it'll say Hades, but even if it says Hades, depending on which verse, it'll go back to, it'll say from the Hebrew, and then it'll say Gehenna. So what Christ is saying is not that you're going to go to Gehenna, but when he's speaking to the Israelites, they are familiar with Gehenna. And so when he's talking about, you're going to go to this fiery pit, and he uses the word Gehenna, they can understand the visual that he's giving because they are familiar with Gehenna.
Come. Next slide.
Revelation.
Yeah.
Revelation.
Look at them blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. I posted a video the other day too. A lot of you Negro onlys came on the comment board. Y'all love that comment board, man. Anyway, go ahead.
Revelation 21:8. The fearful, unbelieving, murderers, and sorcerers get the lake of fire, which is the second death. Revelation 22:15. Outside the city, outside of it, when you read about it, it says, are dogs, sorcerers, sexually immoral, murderers, idol worshipers. This happens outside the city.
Right. So let's get this straight. In chapter 21, it says murderers, sorcerers get the lake of fire. Then in the next chapter, it tells you that these sorcerers and murderers and sexually immoral are outside the city. I don't see how complex, esoteric this is. It's really simple. Go ahead, Assad.
It says this is where rebellious Israelites, alive or resurrected, face Yahushua's final purging lake of fire. Outside
the city, outside Jerusalem, outside Israel. Section 5, the goats, the resurrection. Who's really getting barbecued? Let's go. You don't have to read all of this.
Yeah. It says, okay, so Matthew 25 goats. These aren't Gentiles, they're wicked Israelites. How do we know this? This gathering is only Israelites, because in Matthew 25, it talks about the goats and the sheep. This gathering happens in the wilderness. Only Israel is present in Ezekiel 20. This is the whole gathering. It takes place in Ezekiel 20. That's only Israelites are there.
Israelites. I heard some camps say just because Daniel has Alexander and the Greeks as the goats, that's the goats in Matthew 25. If you do that, a Christian is going to utterly annihilate you. Why? Because he tells keep reading, Salakia.
Because look at this. Yahushua says the goats. His rebuke for the goats is that they didn't feed him, didn't clothe him, or didn't take care of him. The Gentiles were never told to care of him or his people. Only Israel was. Right? So the goats are those who refuse to serve their own nation, the 2/3.
Right. So at the end of Matthew 25, Yahushua tells the goats, you guys could have got into the kingdom. So you cannot say the goats are Gentiles unless you want to get destroyed. But in all truth, sheep follow the shepherd. Goats are more stubborn. That's why it's 1/3, 2/3.
Yeah.
The ones who follow and then the ones who are stubborn, stiff-necked. Okay, let's keep going. Look at that. So this is some powerful wilderness imagery right here.
My bad. And that kind of gives credence to the wheat and the tares thing, because tares look like wheat and goats look like sheep. We had to pause for that. I wasn't trying to that wasn't like a.
All right, let's continue, y'all. It's only 8 sections. Now, if we were to read every verse, I'm paraphrasing and then giving some expounding and exegeting. But if we were to put every verse like verbatim, yeah. So let's talk about the resurrection.
So the resurrection of the dead is for both Israelites and non-Israelites.
Let me just say this to make sure everybody's walking with us. What we're doing is going to every event, which is three events that talk about who gets the lake of fire and where. I'm going to slow it down for everybody so we don't forget. Why are you guys doing the wilderness? Because they get the lake of fire. The wicked Israelites in the wilderness get the lake of fire. Why are you guys talking about Basra and Edom? Because they get the lake of fire. Why are you guys talking about Armageddon, the valley of Armageddon? Because their military's got the lake of fire right there. So that's what we're doing. Let's go.
It says the resurrection
go ahead, Salakia.
Is both for Israelites and non-Israelites, but for different purposes. Wicked Israelites will be resurrected to receive judgment and to be cast into the lake of fire. That's Daniel 12, when it talks about the resurrection right there. 2 Ezra 9, 15-22, Isaiah 66, verse 24. Some Gentiles will be raised to be destroyed. Some of them are going to be resurrected to be destroyed, while others will be resurrected to fulfill prophecy by going into bondage and captivity under the Israelites.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Some are going to just go into slavery.
Go ahead.
Section 6, 2 Ezra 7 and Luke 16. Paradise and fire are neighbors. This should give you, remember when we were reading about outside the city, this gives both, this gives you a location.
Yeah, you'll be able to see, not super close because it is miles away, but it's giving you the understanding and description that of how close in proximity the kingdom will be to the lake of fire. It's very close. Let's go.
Now, okay, watch this. Let's take, my bad, I can't even see. So there's extra verses in 2 Ezra 7 that a lot of people, I believe at one time I said that these are added.
Me too.
I've taught this before, that they're added and they're non-biblical.
Here comes we're gonna drop a bomb on you guys.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, people would ask me about those extra verses in 2 Ezra 7. We didn't need them to prove this, but I did a deep study into them, and they were a part of ancient manuscripts, and all scholars agree that they were. I thought from just a little bit of research that I did that it was a fabrication of the 18th or 19th century. So I didn't, because when you read it, it kind of sounds crazy until you simplify it. And I know a brother in Christ, well, a brother who, who you guys will believe to be, have done some scholarly work. A lot of brothers will say, yeah, I don't have a problem with those. They weren't added. So yeah, we're going to give you guys some sources on this though. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's ironically it's the opposite. These were not added; they were omitted. They were taken away. When you go into the actual, well, I wouldn't know if I would say omitted, but they were supposed to be there in the original, and they weren't until they found them later. So, in 2 Ezra 7, verse 36, look what it says. I'm reading it right here. The pit of torment, the fires of hell will appear, and opposite of them, the paradise of joy and rest.
Uh-oh. Keep going.
Verse 38, it says, look around you. There is joy and peace in one direction, fire and torment in the other. That's what he will say to them on Judgment Day. To let you know that they're in close proximity to each other. Now, could someone take this to be metaphorical? There's some somewhat metaphoric language, but there's also some actual language to it as well. And it's going to further prove. Watch this. In Luke 16, the rich man is in torment. But while in torment, what can he see? Abraham's bosom.
Now, the way we deviated from the traditional One West breakdown of Luke 16 and Abraham's bosom, this is about to hit y'all like a ton of bricks. Traditionally, it's believed that the Gulf and the fire is America. It's not. The Gulf is it's still close proximity. You can see it, but the fire is the lake of fire. Abraham's bosom is the kingdom. So that is a slight deviation, but it shows you through precept and understanding, considering all things in totality, how it makes much more sense. Keep going.
In Revelation 22, verse 14, it says, they will be permitted to enter through the gates of the city and eat the fruit of the tree of life. Outside the city are the dogs and the sorcerers. Isaiah 66, verse 24, it shows that the lake of fire is a visible, physical place near Jerusalem. So this doesn't, well, I'm not going to say like cut to be disrespectful, but this is something I would say Hebrew Israelites we need to look into more. Brothers need to study more. For Christians, it utterly annihilates them. They believe it's some spiritual, some of them either believe it's some spiritual place that your soul gets tormented in for eternity. Others believe it's just in some vague place under the earth. Like anywhere you go under the earth, eventually you're going to reach some red guy with horns and a tail with a big pitchfork, stirring a big pot, poking people in their rear ends. It says, Isaiah 66 and verse 24 shows, again, that the lake of fire is a visible, you can actually go and look at this place, physical, it's visible and it's physical place near Jerusalem, where the righteous will go forth and look upon the burning bodies of the judged, proving it's not some distant or symbolic hell. This fiery judgment zone begins in Basra, which again is outside the city. Not too far, but not too close either. Just far enough to where it wouldn't take you a long time to go and look and see it. It says, moves through the wilderness where Israel is purged and ends at Armageddon, forming a connected path of destruction that can be seen from the holy city.
Okay, so conclusion. Read.
The lake of fire and the kingdom are visible from each other. They're showing you how close they are in proximity. Paradise equals Israel restored. Fire equals Edom and surrounding judgment zones. Bonus. Now here's the bonus. Are the extra verses in 2 Ezra 7 real? Yes, they are.
Here we go. Here goes some sources for y'all. Go ahead.
It says, because the 2 Ezra's manuscripts are found in Latin. That's the Latin Vulgate, I believe, right? They're found in the Syriac and the Ethiopic manuscripts, right? And they're quoted by church fathers like Ambrose and St. Augustine. So they're there. The reason why they're not in the King James Bible is because, does it say it right here, or am I gonna?
I don't. It doesn't say it, but that's dealing with a different ancient manuscript.
Right. Anyway, it says included in scholarly volumes by R.H. Charles, Charlesworth, and Cambridge Apocrypha. These verses support the whole structure: the separation of paradise and fire, judgment by works, and the visibility of Yahushai's wrath.
Now, I hope you guys got your questions. We want to take some questions. Let's keep going, though. We're on section 6 still. Yeah, we're on section 6. Now, section 7 is Armageddon, and section 8 is the Valley of Jehoshaphat. That's where you guys are going to have to correct how you believed prior. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so Isaiah 66 and 24 and Malachi 4, 1-3 confirm that these are carcasses and ashes, not tortured souls. What Christians tell you is when you die and go to hell, you burn there and you suffer for eternity. But Isaiah 66 and verse 24 says they shall go and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. What is a carcass? A carcass is a dead body. A dead body is not suffering. All right. It's called the second death, not eternal torment. Mm-hmm. So people won't be burning alive forever. You go there and you die.
Yeah. The fact that it's called the second death and not like you die there.
Right.
Niggas not burning forever in the lake of fire. It's the second death, you die there. And look at this, Assad. For any of you Christians or Israelites that say you're going to be alive forever, you're promising immortality to the wicked. But the Bible says only the righteous get immortality.
Yeah.
Whether you believe it to be that 1,000-year life cycle or literally forever and ever. You're done, buddy. Let's keep going. Section 7. The final fire Now I know a lot of, like I said, a lot of y'all thought that Armageddon and Jehoshaphat was one war. Nah. The final fire of the lake of fire, it ends at Armageddon. Valley of Jehoshaphat, they just get destroyed. We'll prove that. So NATO, the EU, the false prophet, and the Edomite elites, certain Edomite elites, because remember, we got to take certain of them, they get the lake of fire, the elites, and certain elites get captivity. That's Psalms 149. So let's go.
Okay, so after Edom and the wilderness, what happens? Now it's time for the West to feel the heat. When we say the West, what do we mean? Do we mean the Western Conference of the NBA? No, we're talking about the Western Bloc, which would be NATO and the EU. It says, excuse me, Armageddon is not the valley of Jehoshaphat. Revelation 19:19. It says, the battle of Armageddon, World War III, plus NATO and EU fight against Yahushua. You can read real quick. You can my bad.
Yeah. So it says in Revelation 19:19, y'all, it says the battle of Armageddon is World War III plus NATO, and you got an EU, they fight against Yahushua. This is also talked about in Revelation 12 and 7 and 8, when it says the dragon, which is NATO and EU, they fight against Yahushua through Daniel and his angels, right? Now, it's interesting, everybody, because Armageddon is identified in the Bible as in northern Israel, but it says the people here got the lake of fire. Now, Revelation 19 and 20 says, during this battle at this location, the beast and false prophet are cast alive into the lake of fire, not put on the UFO there and then taken to America and dropped off. That's ridiculous. Have we had to be forced to say that before? Yes, because we stuck with some of the traditions of the elders, but it's just not what the book says. The beast and false prophet are cast alive. Imagine the beast, which this isn't America, the country over here. This is their militaries, NATO and EU's militaries fighting against Yahushua, who the world calls Christ in Revelation 19. Imagine them coming to battle, right? They got their swords, right? And instead of him destroying them there, he says, nah, I'm going to beam you up and take you to America. That's crazy. We have to be more consistent and logical. So this is one battle. This is one battle where all the world powers come together, but Yahushua destroys, they're fighting each other. Yahushua destroys specifically, though, the beast and its allies, which is NATO and EU, not Gog and Magog yet. You guys see that? And all you have to do was read it. That's all you had to do was read it. That NATO and EU were destroyed at Armageddon by Yahushua, according to Revelation 19. Now, I'm going to show y'all that after that battle is Gog and Magog in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and they're destroyed, but they're not put in the lake of fire. They're destroyed by us at that point. I know I'm jumping the gun, but I have to. Remember, it said we got to be the battle axe and weapons of war. When we going to be able to get some? Lord willing, we be at that number. All right, let's continue. Next slide. Did you want to add something to that, or you good?
No, my bad.
All right. You want me to read this one?
Yeah, please. Let me go.
Look at this imagery. Is crazy. False prophet. Who is he? Who is the false prophet? Matter of fact, you know what? Let's get the chat involved real quick. I'll let you guys get involved real quick. And anybody who's being a nuisance in the chat, please get rid of them. There's 438 people on here. Everybody want to be edified or at least hear us out instead of talking crap in the chat and coming with drama. So just get him out of here, or whoever it is. So who is the false prophet in Revelation, y'all? Watch these sources I give y'all. Okay, someone says the Pope. Zahar says Babylon. Nah, the imperial church, the official religion of the Roman Empire. It can't be figurative or symbolic because this person gets the lake of fire, and the lake of fire is not figurative or symbolic. It's literal. Somebody says the white Jesus. Okay. So this would be the Pope. Why? The Pope is going to influence the whole world to go to war, to battle against Yahushua, to try to take the Holy Land as well. Now, let me show you something. You're gonna say, well, are the chariots gonna come get him from the Vatican, or is he gonna be present on the battlefield? It's a good and fair question. So, the false prophet in Revelation represents the Pope, which is, the chief religious deceiver who promotes worship of the beast through Christianity. At Armageddon, he will be physically present according to the Bible, Revelation 19. It says, or spiritually represented, aligning with the beast world armies, and will be cast alive into the lake of fire for deceiving the nation with lying wonders, false doctrine, and blasphemous authority. Now, look at this, though. This has happened before in history, where popes are present on the battlefield. Well, Pope Julius II, known as the warrior pope, personally led troops into battle during the early 1500s, wearing full armor and directing military campaigns such as the capture of, I don't know how to say it, sounds like baloney, in 1506. Also, Pope Leo I was not a battlefield commander, but courageously confronted Attila the Hun face to face outside of Rome in 452 AD, preventing a military invasion through direct personal diplomacy. So it has happened in the past. Now, continuing on, Revelation 16. Revelation 16 sets the stage for the battle of Armageddon, where you see the lake of fire going to, I'm going to show that imagery again, where the lake of fire stretches from Basra to Armageddon. Revelation 16 sets the stage for the battle, and Revelation 19 describes the execution and outcome of that very same battle. Together, they form a continuous prophetic narrative proving that the battle at Armageddon in Revelation 16 is fulfilled in Revelation 19. We're proving to you guys that Armageddon is different from Valley of Jehoshaphat, but Yahushua is at both. One, they go into the lake of fire after getting destroyed. One, we, the hopeful elect, the 144,000, destroy the other. Let's prove that. In section 8, the final war, Jehoshaphat, Gog and Magog, after Armageddon. This is the last section. In Joel 3, Ezekiel, I know Hassad said he wanted to go into Ezekiel 38, but I think we all should know that. So I just gave a brief summary and paraphrased it. In Revelation 20, 7-9, describe a single unified war that happens after Armageddon. I want you guys to understand that. And it has nothing to do with the lake of fire at this point, because they don't go there. They get destroyed. In Revelation 29-10, the beast is already destroyed and cast into the lake of fire, showing that the battle with Gog and Magog is separate from and follows the events of Armageddon, Revelation 19. So it's in the next chapter. It's another event. It follows Armageddon. Gog, BRICS, I want to mention this though, because I said it earlier. Gog with BRICS, their allies, they are present in Armageddon. It's a world war, East versus the West. But for some reason, and possibly because the Most High Son hates Babylon more, Yahushua only destroys the beast at Armageddon, which is NATO and EU's militaries. But he spares Gog and Magog for the coming battle of Jehoshaphat. It's prophecy. So the Valley of Jehoshaphat in Joel 3 is where Yahweh gathers and judges the nations that are scattered and enslaved Israel, not the same nations destroyed in the lake of fire. Hassad, you wanted to speak on that? Make sure they get it?
No, that's good, I think.
All right. So let's keep going. Let's keep going into it.
I can pick up on the next one.
Go ahead.
All right. So Ezekiel 38 shows that this war happens right after Israel is regathered. This is a very important part. Ezekiel 38 shows, matter of fact, let me just read it. Because this is the confusing part sometimes about Revelation 20 when it talks about after the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed, and then he goes out to deceive the nations, Gog and Magog. And it's quoting essentially Ezekiel 38. But look at this. Look what's said in Ezekiel 38. In Ezekiel 38, it says, look at this, verse 8. After many days, thou shalt be visited. In the latter years, in the last days, you shall come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. If we've been there for 1,000 years, you think it's going to be a wasteland? So you're telling me, Deacon, watch. So Christ brings us back to the land of Israel, and it's still a wasteland for 1,000 years. So we ain't build nothing 1,000 years. It's just a complete wilderness. No, because it's just recently brought back. I think other versions might say that. Right. Look at this. A long time from now, you'll be called into action. In the NLT, it says, in the distant future, you will swoop down on the land of Israel, which will be enjoying peace after recovering from war, right? Or really what's referring to is us getting brought out of the lands of our captivity. The point of us going here is that this shows right here that when Ezekiel 38 takes place, it's right after we've been delivered. Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. A 1.5 if kind of sort of maybe repeat it, and a 2 if not at all whatsoever.
He's trying to help y'all understand that the war of Gog and Magog doesn't happen 1,000 years after Yahushai's return, after we get back to the land. If Revelation 20 is drawing from Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 38 is right after our deliverance.
Yeah. Nah. And again, because Revelation 20 says, and after the 1,000, Satan shall be loosed for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, he goes to deceive the nations, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle, to surround Israel. He's quoting Ezekiel 38. And so some brothers, like, no disrespect and much love to certain Israelite brothers, I'm not going to say who, I almost did just for fun, but who teach that this takes place 1,000 years after Christ returns. The problem with that is in verse 8 of Ezekiel 38, it says that when this happens, Israel is a wasteland. It is gathered out of the many people against the mountains of Israel, which have always been a waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations. So it's brought forth out of the nations, meaning it's recently been brought forth. So somebody's put a 2. I don't know what to tell you, my brother. Maybe you're not of the no plan.
We'll get the questions after. Now let's go to Revelation 20 real quick, because I didn't explain. Matter of fact, let me go back to the slides real quick, because I may have explained it. If not, I'll explain it further. Okay, go ahead. Okay,
so again, Ezekiel 38 shows that this war happens right after Israel is regathered from captivity and begins to dwell safely. Which proves it cannot happen 1,000 years later. It happens at the beginning of the kingdom, right around that time. The fire from heaven in Revelation 20:9 is not a literal fire from the sky, but symbolic of Israelites destroying Magog and their allies as Yahushai's divine army. How do we know this?
Zechariah. Yeah. How do we prove that we're the fire coming down from heaven in Joel chapter 3 and in Revelation 20:9? That's destroying Gog and his allies. Yep. Because they're not getting put in the lake of fire. Keep going.
Yeah, and you can read Zechariah 12 just to prove that. Zechariah 12 confirms Israelites are the fire coming down, destroying. Verse 6 in particular. Jeremiah 51:20, that you are my battle axe and weapon of war. Micah 4:13, was talking about us threshing the nations. Micah 5:10 and Isaiah 41 verse 15 all confirm that Israel will be empowered to crush the remaining world powers with divine strength.
And I'm ready. That's why I got my sword in my hand, man. Because I'm ready right now, man. You understand that? Ready right now. So yes, everybody, Revelation 2 and 26, subduing the nations, that's happening at the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Right now, let's keep going. This is where you guys understand who Satan is. Of course, it's all of Esau, but in particular, look at that imagery. You see that imagery? Look at Yahweh Shai just grabbing missiles, man. You understand?
My fault, bro.
So y'all are gonna understand who exactly is Satan here. Remember, context supersedes etymology. Of course, Satan has a chosen people, just like the Most High has a chosen people. His chosen people are Esau. Now, there are levels to Esau, though. There's the elites, there's the middle class, and then there's the damn trailer park trash. So read this for us with that in mind.
Revelation 20:7. It says, Satan that deceived Gog and Magog will be cast into the lake of fire. Now, this would be certain Edomites, elites that fund both sides of the war, such as the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, etc.
Right. Now, why is the Bible saying that Satan deceived Gog and Magog and its allies? Who is powerful enough? It can't be Edomite Matt. It can't be Six Pack Joe. It's the elites who fund both sides of the war, and we have history of them doing this. More than likely some high-level Amalekites, or also other Edomites who are high level as far as being the hegemonies of this world, the illuminaries of this world. Keep going.
It says they're going to try to influence and persuade Gog and Magog to fight against Jehoshaphat and take Israel. These elite Edomites will be cast into the lake of fire. Joel 2:20 describes the destruction of a northern army whose corpses stretch from the Dead Sea to the Mediterranean.
Now, this is a dagger. This is a dagger. Brothers used to say that this was the American military, but it's not. So just read it.
It's read Joel 2?
No, just read the bulletin.
Okay. It says, whose corpses stretch from the Dead Sea to the Mediterranean, matching the judgment seat in the valley of Jehoshaphat, where multitudes are slain in Israel's land. This parallels Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39, where Gog's army is destroyed, their bodies left to rot with a great stench rising, confirming both prophecies describe the same end time war, which is
right. So in Joel chapter 2, verse 20, when it says, I will remove from you the northern army, it's talking about the northern army being Gog and Magog. They come from the north quarters. Yeah. I think it even says that in Ezekiel 38. But so they're going to be surrounding us. In the very next chapter, he talks about Jehoshaphat. So Joel 2:20 is not the North American army. It's Gog and Magog. They are still from the north. He's going to remove that whole army, and their stench is going to come up. Same language and phrase as what he says in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Understand that, right? So at this point, I want everybody to understand this too. At this point that Gog gets destroyed, he says, now I'm going to destroy it. Here's how you prove Armageddon happens before Jehoshaphat. Two different events in two different locations. After the Most High destroys Gog and Magog at the Valley of Jehoshaphat, he says, now I'm going to destroy these Edomite elites who even influenced you to do this, and they're getting thrown into the lake of fire where the beast and false prophet already are. I should have dropped a bomb on that. So what happened in Revelation 19, the beast and the false prophet, they're in the lake of fire. Then he tells these Satanists who influenced and misled Gog and deceived God to try to come up against us in the land. He said, now I'm going to throw you in there after I destroy Gog and Magog, where these people are already burning. Hopefully I'm explaining that right. Got to dumb it down for the folks. Nah, go ahead.
So it says, this battle is Israel's war of conquest, not Yahushai's fiery return. It is the final cleansing of nations after the lake of fire. Judgment has already consumed the beast, which Babylon armies and their allies, which is NATO and the EU.
Mm-hmm. Here goes the good part. I know all y'all is asking, how does 2nd Ezra 13 fare with y'all's breakdown? Let's go ahead and read that.
2nd Ezra 13. In Joel 3, we see Yahushua standing in power on Mount Zion, judging the nations in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Second Ezra also goes into some details of Armageddon. He sees both battles. When he says he, this is Ezra sees both battles in Second Ezra 13. This exact scene is mirrored in Second Ezra 13, where Yahushua is again seen on Mount Zion. Once this judgment is complete, the elect are received into glory. That's Second Ezra 13, 39 to 50. And then begins the next phase, the gathering of the remaining heathen from across the world, those who were not involved in the war. These nations are brought in chains, as described in 2 Ezra 13 and 30, when it says some were bound, fulfilling the prophecy of Psalm 149, 8 to 9, where Israel when it says bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron.
Right.
So, again, just to kind of compact it, 2 Ezra 13 describes both Armageddon and Jehoshaphat. When it goes on to just say that they left the fighting that they had amongst each other and then sought to overcome him by fighting, and then he stood on Mount Zion, and then fire came out of his mouth, and then that multitude was turned into nothing. It starts with them fighting amongst each other. So you see a little bit of Armageddon, and then it transitions into Jehoshaphat, and they get destroyed.
Drop a bomb. And then how do we know that that's the end all be all war? Because 2 Ezra 13 says, then we came with servants who were tied up. So the Valley of Jehoshaphat happens, and then we go around the world and gather up our servants for this hardcore bondage. That's power. Keep going.
Okay. All right. Okay, then of course you can read about this in Ezekiel 25:14, Isaiah 14, 1 and 2, and Isaiah 60 and 12.
All right, this is the outro. Y'all. So you can ask your questions after this. Go ahead.
So, in conclusion, when you connect Isaiah 63, Ezekiel 20, Revelation 19, 2 Ezra 13, Joel 3, the path becomes undeniable. The lake of fire is a local divine judgment that begins in Edom, purges rebellious Israelites in the wilderness, and destroys the Western world powers at Armageddon. Not America. So the lake of fire is not America. So Great Millstone members and others, you are welcome to fulfill your quota of 3 videos a day, starting with this one.
Or we're always up for the smoke.
Or we can repent, and Elder Apostle Hart can become the new leader of Genesis, but he got to teach the 100% truth.
That's right. That's right, brother. So Hart needs to come be a big G.
Yeah. Okay, let me keep going. It says, afterward, the Valley of Jehoshaphat becomes the next stage for cleansing the surviving nations, Gog and Magog, led by Edomite elites like modern-day the Rothschilds. It says, who still manipulate global conflict. But by then, the lake of fire has already consumed Babylon's system and NATO and the EU, which would be like their armies. The rest of the nations will be conquered by Israel with divine power. When it says, I will give them power over the nations, and they will rule over them with a rod of iron, fulfilling the prophecy of a world ruled in righteousness and justice. This isn't a metaphor. It's a prophetic roadmap of fire and dominion, and it's already written from Basra to the throne of David. All praise to the Most High.
That's right. That's right. Big G. All praise to the Most High. Yahweh Bashim and Mashiach Yahushai. I really believe that he's pouring his spirit out upon us, and has been. And when I say us, the Israelites, his people in general. So all praises to the Most High for that. I think that was the last slide. So at this time, I will now open it up for questions, and I will post the link to this presentation in the chat, and I will put it in the description box. For all the images, I'll put my email on here. For all the images, just hit me up. So what I could do is, if you want to grab it right now, that's fine. If you want to grab it from the description box, that's fine. But I can't create a link that has the images and PDF to it. I don't know how to do that. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. But if you want to email me, I can package everything together in a zip file and get you the PDF to this presentation with all the images. All right. So we'll open it up for questions, comments, and smoke. I hope everybody was edified in the spirit of the Most High God and unity and brotherhood and just pushing for truth and what the scriptures actually says. All praise to the Most High.
Somebody
Look bro, my arm held it. I don't need to work out today, bro. I'm sweating under here. I don't even need to work out. This was about 800 calories that I burned just holding this big old sword. Pause.
Somebody asked Jeremiah 16:16 when it says, "What about the hunters?" The context of Jeremiah 16 about I will send for many fishers and they shall fish them, and many hunters and they shall hunt them, is about God's judgment on our people through the Babylonians, not through. That's not about us hunting. That's about us getting hunted.
Right. Us getting fished and hunted. That's what we're talking. Us getting caught. Somebody said my brain and cerebral cortex is fried. I'm just glad this is over. I've been working on this for about 3 weeks. So all praises. What level of wickedness in Israel are there? What level dies in Babylon and what level gets brought to the wilderness, then purged? It's not about what level of wilderness. It's about a judgment, a unique judgment on America, that if you're a wicked Israelite here, you have to suffer those plagues with Babylon.
D'Angelo, what you mean you missed that part? You mean you missed the whole video? Brother, you just should watch the video, King.
Yeah, rewind it. Where did I get this sword at? The Archangel Michael came down and brought it to me. It's like, nah, a dear beloved brother gave me this as a gift. All praises. If regeneration gives another chance, what happens to those who's cast in the lake of fire? Is that their second death, soul destroyed, like Matthew 10:28? No, that spirit is destroyed when you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, or really for whatever reason the Most High wants to. But after that lake of fire, we do see, our people being regenerated. We do believe that still as well.
Let me see.
Somebody said, "Who?" Go ahead.
Prince Yashar, would the new bodies come after the 2/3 are purged out? Yes.
Israelites over everybody. Christians are using Matthew 12:41 to make a point that Gentiles can repent. How do I respond to that?
That's the men of Nineveh shall rise up against you.
Oh, what? Nah. Well, all he's saying is that he's saying that these Gentile nations would accept me more than you. Therefore, technically, they would have the right to condemn you. But we know the Assyrians aren't reigning over anybody in the kingdom. It's actually the opposite. Isaiah 14:2 says that we got to take them captives whose captives we were. And I remember I cut Albie on this because Albie is so prideful with his Assyrianism. The Northern Kingdom never got a chance to take the Assyrians back into captivity for what they did to them.
Yeah, no one said they can't repent, but they still have to go into captivity. The Bible said what it say.
All praises. If you got questions, just type them in the chat, bro. Unless it's a lot. Here, matter of fact, I'll just put it in the chat. If you can't type it and you want to, and it's just 4 paragraphs, somebody said drop the link for smoke. It better be on topic. Let's see. What elite class goes into captivity or dies in the lake? It could be some Amalekites who are the elites, and then some other Edomites who are the elites as well. What I do know is that according to Psalms 149, some are going in chains, and according to Revelation 20, some are going into that lake of fire. So deciphering which ones is not like specific. Okay. Are you looking at some of these?
Okay, Law said, what if you get delivered from America, will you still go through the trials in the wilderness? Even if you survive the great tribulation, you're not going to die in the wilderness because you're going to be of those who have the victory.
Ain't no trials in the wilderness. Like, that's an age-old Israelite doctrine. Now we're going to go to the wilderness and no, Yahushua and the angels take us to the wilderness. It says to the goats and the sheep, nigga, you're going to the lake of fire. You're going to the kingdom. You're not gonna have to fend for yourself and for bread and hide out and Esau chasing you. I don't know what's wrong with Big Dog.
Marrying other nations or just within our own people? Come on, brother. What do you think I'm gonna say to that? You should marry a beautiful black or Hispanic woman if you're Israelite. That's what you should.
Yaquab, a Genesis member. He's the one who asked about Jeremiah 16. Oh, Yaquab, I gotta get on you, brother. Come on, man.
He was repeating somebody else's question.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we already went over which wilderness it is. It's not Saudi Arabia because that is too far from the path and radius of the lake of fire. Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is a filthy, disgusting lie against the Holy Spirit. No. Well, Hassan, I think you mentioned that. There is something in Malachi 3 that I do believe is tied to the lake of fire.
Is that like related to the all refining fire? Well, he's not refining them.
Another one. Yeah.
The refining fire, like Peter speaks about, 1 Peter 4:12, the fiery trial, which is to try some of us. That's not the lake of fire. Lake of fire is for judgment and death. Elijah, what's up, my brother?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I mainly had hold on.
Turn off your YouTube. Nicholas, go ahead, brother.
Oh man, Shalom, man. What's going
Shalom,
on?
okay. All praise.
Yeah, man. I just want to say thanks very much, the water, for this presentation. It's very well needed and very, very much edifying, what I'm saying, for myself and for the people,
All praise.
The only thing is the whole time, before, I'm pretty sure I thought that, Gehenna would be the place in which Esau would be, completely eradicated at. That's probably the only thing that I had, trouble with before.
Yeah, it's just not a big enough location. And it can't be, that's a part of Israel. And remember, those who get gathered are going to get put in that lake. So due to those reasons, it's not big enough and it's not along the pattern of the prophetic geography, then I ruled that out.
Yeah, and also I'm definitely glad you touched on 2nd Ezra 13, because that's actually a question I actually had, but you actually touched on it, and this might be actually a little fun, little playful question, right? As far as the elect goes, Lord willing, I am, and hopefully y'all brothers too get a part of that number. We get to bang on Esau, right? Once the elect are sealed, right, and they get power, I'm pretty sure, Elder Tahar, it talks about, us receiving powers like the Marvel of, the Avengers or like the Justice League or whatnot. Is that actually going to happen? Do you think so? Just a little bit.
That's receiving the spiritual power. Absolutely. That's what you read in Zechariah and Micah 4, Zechariah 12 specifically.
Yeah. It's going to be like, once again, like 12,000 Nat Turners and Galvarinos and, Chief Geronimos and all that.
That's
yeah, man, but yeah, once again.
For Yadi, I don't know if that's Yadi in the chat from Masada, but I just posted the PDF for everybody. I just posted the PDF. Let me know if the link works. I'm not sure how you download the link. I mean, I'm tech savvy, but not tech savvy. But let me know if that link works, and then how I guess you can download it from there. I also got to put it in the description box as well. Okay.
Yeah, but
when does Leviathan appear? Who are your elders? No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Anything else, Brother Nicholas? We're gonna get a couple.
That's pretty much it, man. Also, I finally graduated like last Friday.
Man, finally! Praises! Finally!
Yeah.
You got your. It's been so long. You got your PhD.
PhD? No, I got my regular bachelor's. Just regular bachelor's. It's been 5 years though, man. But yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I know how stressful that can be.
Yeah,
all right, brother, we appreciate you. Let me get this other brother on. Shalom, King. Israelite Defense, go ahead.
Shalom. I'm sorry, I X'd myself out of the damn StreamYard, but I just wanted to touch on 3 things with y'all. So earlier, were y'all denying the eternal conscious torment, right?
When you say eternal, you mean like for eternity?
Like they're alive as long as the saints are alive. That's what I mean in terms of like.
Yeah, I don't. Nowhere in the Bible do we see people burning and suffering for eternity in fire.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about. So like in Revelation 14:9-11, when it says they have no rest day or night, where it says their torment goes up forever and ever, they have no rest day or night. What do y'all think that's going into if it's not eternal conscious torment?
You want to answer that?
You can if you want to.
It's hyperbolic, bro. Like it says that show those three or those two instances with Jeremiah 25:12.
Yeah.
And I think also Jeremiah 19.
Okay. So in Jeremiah 25:12, look what it says. And it shall come to pass when 70 years are accomplished. This is when we were in Babylon, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, says the Lord, for their iniquity and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it, Babylon, perpetual desolations. Does that mean Babylon will remain desolate perpetually for eternity? No. For example, we see like forever. The word forever is used. I think the Hebrew word ilam is used throughout the Bible, and it doesn't mean literally forever in perpetuity. For example, when it talks about the Hebrew servant, he shall be his. Okay, look at this. In Exodus 21:6, look at this. I'll start verse 5. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out for free. So the Hebrew servant wants to continue to be a servant. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost. And his master shall bore his ear through and all with it. So basically, I give him this special earring. And he, the servant, shall serve him forever. Does that mean that this Hebrew servant serves his master in perpetuity until the end of time? No. So it's just hyperbolic language.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. So the second thing that I wanted to, well, I also wanted to mention, y'all were talking about the second Esdras. I just wanted to give an independent confirmation of the 7 verses because I came to the same conclusion on my own concerning that. In fact, I have a Bible that contains them. Yeah. It's the Bible I use every day. It has the same amount of books as the 1611 KJV. It's called the Common, I think it's what's called it's the RSV. Let me see. The Revised RSV Common Bible. Yeah, Revised Standard Version Common Bible.
Yeah, and I think that's the that's the Bible that the Catholics use. I'm not sure what. Yeah, but go ahead.
It goes for a couple of $100 online, but I ended up getting it for cheap. But yeah, I was going to say those verses are in there. So anybody out there who has doubts that this is some sort of thing that Genesis Israelites is concocting, it's not true. It's definitely, those verses are definitely in the Bible. And I was also going to ask about have y'all read on the scholarship concerning the first 2 chapters and the last 2 chapters of Second Esdras?
No.
Okay. So I was going to say the scholarship concerning those is that they were added by Christians into the Latin translation, which eventually becomes the foundation of the English translation. So yeah, I don't know if you ever heard anything about those. And usually the evidence for that is like it mentions taking the kingdom away from Israel and then giving it to other nations in what's it called in the first, like I want to say the first 2 chapters.
Yeah. Second Esdras, I think Second Esdras 2 or Second Esdras 3. It says that. Yeah.
Right, and then it also mentions Yahushua uses the term Jesus, but it mentions him, and they also say, well, that's an obvious addition, interpolation, based on the dating and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So for the first one, in Second Esdras 2, I think when it says, "I will give your stuff to the Gentiles," well, if you just keep reading Second Esdras and Second Esdras 8, because the whole book is basically Ezra begging the Most High not to do that. So in Second Esdras 8, the Most High hears Ezra's prayer and he says, all right, I won't do that. If you just read Second Esdras 8, starting around like verse 29. Now with that thing in Second Esdras 7, when it says, my son Jesus, Deacon, if he's listening, can probably give you a more accurate answer. But from what I remember, there is some credence to, I wouldn't say that's an addition, but the way that they translated that.
It was supposed to be, it just says like anointed one.
Right.
It don't say Yahushua.
But because these are Christians that are translating it, of course, through their, I guess you could call it biasness.
I get what you're saying.
They're correct, but they mistranslated it.
So I would have to go do some more research concerning that and see the type of manuscripts and all that type of stuff. But yeah, because we don't have the original Greek that this was allegedly written in, because they say it was allegedly written in Greek. I think there was a translation from the Hebrew into Greek. That's my personal opinion. and then the Greek was lost and the Hebrew was lost and da 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 da. So
Yeah,
all we have is like a Latin translation.
Exactly. The oldest manuscript we have, I think, is in the Latin Vulgate, which is 400 AD.
So my last thing I wanted to ask about is I remember asking y'all a couple of, like, I wouldn't say a couple of years back, but like I want to say like before the whole schism and all that type of stuff, about the personhood of the Holy Spirit. Y'all do believe in the personhood of the Holy Spirit still, right?
That it's a distinct person from the Father.
No,
Yes.
we don't.
And you can stop me, Deacon,
no,
if this is off topic.
we
and y'all
don't. We don't believe that. It's kind of off topic, but just come on another time. We can deal with it. We got a couple other brothers who want to try to stay on this topic.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And I can always shoot y'all a text message too, and we can discuss it in private. It doesn't have to be whatever. But yeah, that was it. Thank y'all for taking your time, and the edification was great.
All praise the Most High. Good seeing you, brother.
You too.
All right, Shalom King. All right, Max W Dub, what's up, bro? You live?
Hey, how you doing? You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you. What's good?
Oh, okay. Now, concerning like with y'all ministry and everything like that, does y'all like what do you believe like concerning like the lake of fire and with salvation concerning the commandments of a distinction between salvation, basically? Do you believe that there's a distinction between salvation and people being saved from the lake of fire? Or is that like off topic, or am I not breaking it down enough?
Okay, just let me make sure I understand your question. Is there a difference between being saved from the lake of fire and salvation?
No, all right. So I'm basically saying, like, is there a difference? Like, not difference. What is salvation for? Like, who is salvation for? And who would that? How would that? Like, how can a person require? Like, I should put it in one nutshell. One question first, basically.
Hey, brother, why you real quick? No, don't worry about it. I'm gonna let you get it off. But while you figure that out, your question, how you want to word it,
I got it. My bad.
Okay, real quick, 1 second. I am putting the PDF link, the fixed PDF link, the updated link to the Lake of Fire presentation. Boom. This should work, y'all. Hopefully you can view it and download it, or just save the link. All right. Let me know if it works. Put a G in the chat if it works. Go ahead, Max.
Heard. Thank you. I was saying, so how can a person be saved out of, like, what are the requirements of salvation to be saved from that lake of fire, other than putting it in one nutshell and saying follow the commandments?
Well, it's really that simple. That's what Christ said. So in Matthew 19, he says that, and in Luke chapter 16, he says that.
But you see, like, some people eat unclean. That's why I was saying, like, say for you get what I'm saying?
Right. I understand, but the answer still remains the same. If you want to get salvation, you keep the commandments. That's it. We don't need to overcomplicate it.
No, but thank you. So do you believe, like, that's why, like, say for an example, some people don't, like, distinctly, like, that's why I was trying to see, like, so, like, there's a difference. Do you believe that there's a difference between salvation for someone that is circumcised and uncircumcised?
Salvation is salvation.
So I'm saying, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 18. So don't make your circumcision uncircumcision, don't make your uncircumcision circumcision. Yeah. So there's a difference between such, and that's why I'm like asking. But you just put it in a whole nutshell. But in there it was saying that there's a difference. That's why I'm asking y'all. According to
Paul didn't say that there's a difference. What Paul
he was saying, don't make your. If a person is circumcised because you got a freeman, and then you have, like, because I heard someone mention the bore in the ear and everything. So you got a freeman, and then you got a servant. Then you have a servant of free of that's free, a servant of Christ.
Let me just because it's kind of. I want to make sure I get to the next person too, brother. So real quick, there's a couple ways of looking at what Paul said in 1 Corinthians. One is this is prior to a counter that takes place in Acts 21, where there were certain things that Paul had to have addressed. One of which being circumcision. That's one way of looking at it. Another one is there's another, I think it's in Galatians, where Paul calls people mutilators. And these were people that were going around trying to immediately get newcomers to circumcise themselves. And so one way of looking at this is in 1 Corinthians 7, Paul is telling people not to rush to get circumcised, right? But that has nothing to do with salvation and what Christ
Well,
defined.
now I'm saying that according to salvation, because in that same context it says
Right. But real
until
quick,
how
though,
you were called. How
Max.
you were called.
Who defines what salvation is? Paul or Christ, who's going to be doing the salvation?
So Paul was called in according to Acts as
Brother,
Christ called.
I'm asking you a question. Who defines what salvation is? Paul or Christ, who literally is the one who's going to be doing the salvation?
Well, that's a rhetorical question. I don't think I need kind of like we already know.
It's not a
unless
It's
you're
not a
Catholic.
rhetorical question.
Unless
It's not a
you're- unless
rhetorical
you're
question at all.
Well,
Christ
well,
is very. It's very.
Unless you're Muhammad, unless you believe in like if you're a Muslim, Catholic, unless you believe in Christianity, you believe in Jesus Christ, or if you Hebrew Israelite, believe in Jesus Christ, and you at least have a different name.
Right.
It's Jesus.
But brother, do you, like I don't. Can I answer your question, or would you like to not answer the question? Hear the answer.
Well, you said that there's no because you.
I'm asking. Can you answer that question real quick though? Yes or no? Would you like to hear the answer? If not, that's fine. Just let me know. So
Yeah, Max, hold on real quick. Hey y'all, erase that last link. I just figured out how to do it with all the images. My bad, y'all. Erase that last link. I just figured out how to do it with all the images. Wow. That looked crazy. All right, erase that last link. And I'm going to give you guys the one with all the images to it. And it looked crazy too. So this is what you guys should see. Let me share my screen. Somebody said, what rhymes with Suge Knight? Yeah. So this is what you guys should see right here. When I send you this link, it's going to have all the pictures to it. All right. So erase that last link. I feel sorry for those who left already. This is what you guys are going to get right here. Everything. All right. So let's bring him back up and I'm going to send this link. My bad, y'all.
all right, let me just make it very simple for you, Max. Christ said very simply, very clearly, if you want to get eternal life, keep the commandments. Paul, Peter, John, no one gets to redefine or repackage what Christ already put clearly. 1 Corinthians 7 has absolutely nothing to do with salvation. What 1 Corinthians 7
Acts chapter 21, God came to the testament for the Gentiles, for James.
Brother,
Says Acts chapter.
listen, either you're going to let me answer the question or I'm just going to remove you, which I don't want to do, but I would like to answer your question. But you're not going to interrupt me while I try to answer your question. So I'm going to give you one last time to try to let me answer your question, brother. In 1 Corinthians 7, which has, again, nothing to do with salvation, Paul is speaking about something in particular, not salvation, circumcision. And when he's telling people in the church of Corinth that there's people that are trying to rush to make you guys get circumcised. Now, Paul doesn't put an emphasis on circumcision right there, which is why I said there's a couple ways of looking at this. One is Paul was flat out telling people it doesn't matter if you get circumcised, which is an issue because in Acts 21, we see a totally different tune. And we see in Acts even 16, Paul circumcises Timothy. 1. 2 is he's telling people when they are first coming into the faith that they don't have to do that immediately, but they should work their way towards that eventually. So that's the answer. You can be satisfied with it or not.
Oh, yeah. Can I don't want to interrupt you. So I just was saying, like, according to Acts chapter 21, we see that we see that the Gentiles was called to follow these 4 commandments and not the other ones, because there was other commandments that there was a difference between the Jews, what commandments the Jews followed and what the Gentiles that were called, because we know in Romans chapter 3, we see that he was called in the uncircumcision. So now within the uncircumcision being called, now we see that we go back right here in 1 Corinthians. He says in a way that a person was called to Christ.
Okay.
So now a person, I just want to finish this last piece I was going to say. It says circumcision is nothing and uncircumcision is nothing but the following of the commandments. So now with following the commandments, it makes it known that you're a debtor to the commandments when circumcised, and a person that's uncircumcised is not.
Yeah.
So
Right.
then after that, it says, now do not forsake Moses' law, where their children now can become heirs because now they are being circumcised, not uncircumcised.
Okay. I don't mean this to be, and I know people typically when they say, with all due respect, and they say something disrespectful, but truly, brother, with all due respect, that was incoherent rambling. I don't even know what your point was, so I don't even know how to address
It
it.
was according to salvation of them being called to the heirs. It says they'll be called heirs too. So that's according to salvation of them being delivered from the lake of fire.
All right, bro. Are
But
you
I'll
familiar
leave it
with?
out with y'all
Are you
with it.
familiar with West Coast rap?
You said what?
Are you familiar with West Coast rap?
Nah, if y'all gonna take me off the joint, y'all can just take me off the joint. But that was it.
I'm gonna take you out, but I want to do it like this. Okay.
Gelato.
Gelato.
Hey, yo, what's good? Y'all already knew I had to click the link, man.
Who's this, Ronan? What's up, brother?
Y'all already know this is my topic. This is my specialty. You know what I mean?
Hey,
So,
hey, Ronan. What
What's
rhyme?
up, man?
Like, I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
Nah,
I was like, damn, already?
Already.
I was thinking about.
I'm playing.
That was Hassad. That wasn't me.
That was me.
I was thinking about you as I was putting this together because I remember a couple years ago you asked me were we gonna take the dead soldiers from Armageddon and all of that and bring them all the way to America and cast them in the lake of fire. And I remember I said yes. And I when I said yes, I felt like an absolute piece of trash. But what is your understanding of where the lake of fire is and all of this, bro? I'm not. We're coming on 2 hours, so just try to make it quick. Give me a precise, a little brief synopsis.
Every time I come on, it's always got to be quick, huh?
I mean, bro,
All
you
right.
got your own YouTube channel. Hello?
Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to fix my Bluetooth. Just real. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
sorry
got
about
your
that.
own channel. If you want to do a sermon, go do a sermon. But give me
All right.
how
So
you, first of all, how you feel about the lesson, and then what's your understanding of the location and the sequence of events?
Okay, so I want to say it's a beautiful thing for y'all to go back through your old breakdowns and really scrutinize whether or not those things are so. Everything that GMS taught us is not 100%. Everything that Alizar teaches is not 100%. So I want to commend you on that. And I want to take partial credit for this. I know I do. You guys gonna laugh at me, but honestly, I'm the only brother here who constantly challenges your guys' understanding on the lake of fire, the resurrection of the dead, and all that. And now, because of that, you guys have to go back through. So first and foremost, good job in realizing that the lake of fire is not Babylon. It's not America. All right. Now you're getting closer. They're getting warmer. They're getting closer. Now they're pulling out Second Esdras, chapter 7, verse 36, which Alizar used to say, "Oh, that's not scripture. That's not." And I brought it to their attention, and they cast it out. Now they're re-looking at it. So now they're accepting Second Esdras.
Real quick.
I'm not cutting you up. I just
you can make your point without mentioning.
You ain't got to say nobody else's name. You're talking to us, bro.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So, and they're noticing, like, dang. So Second Esdras is saying the same thing that is mentioned in Luke chapter 16. Now, this is where we're going to get them over the hurdle, guys. Now, do I believe in an underworld in the Greek sense of Hades? No, I do not. But the same way how I believe that there's a spiritual realm above us, I believe that there's a spiritual realm below us, or a spiritual realm where the Most High can keep the souls of spirits. We see evidence of that in Samuel's, where we see gods rising out of the earth. We can see that in Ecclesiastes, where it says, "Who knows the spirit of beasts that go where? Downward." So clearly the spirit of beasts are where? They're in a spiritual realm that's not in the heavens. So
real quick,
that proves that there's other dimensions. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question real quick concerning that? So, in this other spiritual realm, are you able to see it from this physical realm?
Whew.
I would say can you hear me?
You're cut, Ronan.
No, I'm not. So what I would say is the same thing that happened with Gehazi. So with Gehazi, he couldn't see the angels. He couldn't see what was there. It's the same. It's like in the same manner. So I want to keep pushing it forward now. So now this is my gripe with you guys, right? Because I know I'm on a short time crunch.
Yeah, I'm asking, like, I know you're. Can you kind of just answer that, brother? I think I kind of get what you're saying, but I just need a yes or no.
I already broke it down. I already said yes.
Okay.
If the Most High wants you to be able to see something that is spiritually there, He can cause you to see it. Is that simple?
So it's like on some. And I'm not trying to be rude.
But you are. You're naturally an asshole. So go ahead.
All right.
You're naturally an asshole.
Take that. All right. So it's not as rude as it is funny. All right. This is what it is. It's like ever seen the show Death Note? It's an anime. Whenever you touch the Death Note, you can see the demons. Is this what we're kind of talking about, Ronan?
No, it's more so think of it from a scientific perspective. When you look at infrared, you need technology to see certain heat signatures, certain things that you can't see with the naked eye. It's the same thing. What God did with Gehazi, he wasn't able to see angels or chariots. Then the Most High opened his eyes, and then he was able to see, oh snap, there's craft here, there's angels here. It's the same thing. So hold on, Hassad. There's a point that I wanted to bring out, and you're going to keep me here, and I'm not going to be able to get to what I wanted to bring out. So what I wanted to bring out, respectfully, is I think you guys are getting a lot closer to what the lake of fire is. And I think what will help you understand is going back to the ancient paths. Do your research. Okay, what did the ancient Hebrew Israelites, what did they actually teach concerning the final judgment?
You're about to
Not
get
concerning.
destroyed. You're about to get destroyed.
Hold on. Hold on.
No. Let's stop.
That's a sign of you running. That's a sign of you running when you don't let me finish.
That you just said.
But you got to let a man finish. You got to let a man finish his speech, though, right?
I'm gonna let you finish.
All right, cool.
Let me let you finish.
Cool.
Wait.
All right, thank you.
Let me just clarify, because I want to make sure I'm walking with you. You came on here one day a few weeks ago, or like a week ago, and you said our ancestors during the first century.
No,
right?
second temple period.
Second temple period, they taught eternal punishment in hell. Now let me ask you this.
No, I didn't teach that. I didn't teach that. That's not what they taught.
What'd they teach?
Exactly. So let me explain it to you. Let me break it down to you so you get the doctrine right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So when you go, so what we have to do is, instead of relying on men who are here in 2025, we need to seek out the old path. That would be the Pharisees. Jesus Christ, Yahushua, he said, everything that the Pharisees command you, that observe and do. Now, Hassan and them, they're going to say, well, what about the washing of hands? They didn't believe in Jesus. Does that take away from the fact that they had, before Jesus Christ was born, if we were to ask who had the proper doctrine, it was the Pharisees. And Paul is a Pharisee, and we had Pharisees that believed. So what did the Pharisees teach? What did the Pharisees teach concerning the lake of fire? And what you'll find is that the Pharisees taught Luke 16 was literal. The Pharisees taught 2 Ezra chapter 7 was literal.
All right.
It's these men today that are saying the opposite.
Let me get some pushback. First of all, you misquoted and took out of context what Yahushua said. He said they sit in Moses' seat.
Exactly.
So do whatever, listen to what they tell you concerning if they're coming from Moses' seat. That perspective, not their eschatology or anything like that. Now, secondly, let me see the source. Source.
I have the source. Okay. I have it right now.
The source where the Pharisees were teaching that, and I'll look at it. And that doesn't mean they were right, because I can go to teachings even within the text where they weren't right because it was outside of Torah.
But what does it show, though?
Let me land my plane. I'll let you.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll let you microwave now. Let me cook. So you're saying that, we got to listen to everything, even outside of the Torah, outside of Moses. Yahweh shall clarify when to listen to the Pharisees, because even inside the Gospels, the Pharisees' teachings are being condemned. So no, that can't mean we need to adhere to all their teachings, brother.
That's fine.
Now show that source.
Great. So can I send the link in the back chat? And so then you can look at it, and then you can, because I can't share my screen. I'm on my cell phone. I have the information. Or you can type it up, or you can look it up live. How about you just look it up live right now on Google?
Tell me the source.
It's called Josephus Discourse with the Greeks Concerning Hades.
The Greeks.
Josephus
I thought you said
Discourse. Did you get the title? So again, Josephus's Discourse with the Greeks Concerning Hades. Now we understand the Greeks. Now we understand Greeks are just people who they're Hebrews. They follow Torah. They just speak Greek. That's what he's talking about.
No. You're done. I'm gonna tell you why you're done.
How am I done? How am I done?
I'll tell you why you're done. Have you ever heard of the intertestamental period?
That's exactly what we're talking about right now.
Okay, good. Now, during the intertestamental period, you had two sects of Israelites. What were they?
The Sadducees and the Pharisees.
No, but before they became the Sadducees and Pharisees, what were their names?
Zadok, sons of like the Zadok,
No. It's the Hasidics and the Hellenizers. So before the Pharisees and Sadducees, they come from the Hasidics and the Hellenizers. The Hasidics gave birth to the Pharisees. They stuck to the law. The Hellenizers followed after Greek customs and started believing in eternal punishment and all this bugged out stuff, and not believing.
No, but the reason why you're cut.
Let me finish real quick. The Hellenizers gave birth to the Sadducees, who
was Josephus a Hellenizer though?
Let me land my plane. Who followed Greek mythology and language in their ways so much. The Sadducees, for 1,000% fact, go back to the sect of Israelites who were called the Hellenizers. So when you have Josephus talking about Hades and then says Greeks were present, those were Sadducees.
Okay, so that's beautiful, but the point is that Josephus.
It's not beautiful because you said we got to listen to all the Pharisees. You got the wrong sect.
But hold on, because Josephus, he is a Pharisee, number one. Number two, regardless of who these people are, these Greeks or whatever, he's giving the teaching of what the Pharisees were teaching at that time. You can't go against that, bro. So at the very least, you would have to take that into consideration with your doctrine. They literally, when you go through the discourse, when you look it up on the internet, which you can do right now, Deacon, which I don't know why you're not doing it. But when you look
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, when you look at it, it is literally Luke 16 verbatim.
No, it's not. Watch this. I'm gonna read the very
verbatim.
Okay, watch this. Now, everybody, remember, he said it's not someplace under the earth. It's somewhere in the Ghostbuster realm. Let's just read what the very first stanza of.
Nigga, where's heaven at?
Don't worry about it. So
heaven's in the Ghostbuster realm, right?
So let's read.
Yeah, stupid ass.
Let's read in the book that he asked us to read. And the very first words. Now, as to Hades, this is what would be verse 1 of the discourse to the Greeks concerning Hades. Now, as to Hades, wherein the souls of the good things they see and rejoice in the righteous and unrighteous are detained. It is necessary to speak of it. Watch this. Hades is a place in the world not regularly finished, a subterraneous region. That's not what Luke 16 says. That's not what you even said, brother. They're saying it's under the goddamn earth, not in some boogie land. That where you need remember Shark Boy and Lava Girl, where we had to have the old school 3D glasses. The one was turquoise, the one was red, so you can see the demons. No, them niggas were teaching that it's literally under the earth, that you could dig and eventually get to hell.
So with that, Ronan, what rhymes with Suge Knight? What rhymes with Suge Knight?
Why will
Good night. Yaquad, what's going on, brother?
Shalom. Yabashim Shabakata. I got quick questions. Two, one for me and then one for brother in the chat. So one, all right, so we already went over everything, but I got one question. So when Yahweh Shai in I believe that's in Mark, it might be in Matthew as well, but when he says that the righteous of us will have the wicked of us and will thrust them through, is that going to be thrusted through and thrown into like a fire to your like belief, or is that separate, before, after, during?
What verse are you talking about?
I ain't gonna, I'm drawing a blank right now, but I want to.
Say it again.
It says that the righteous of our people will take the wicked of our people and will be thrusted through. That he's gonna have, our people.
Oh, Luke 19 and 27.
Yeah,
bring them hither and slave before me. That's gonna happen in the wilderness. So
okay,
it's
so that's
attributed. It's attributed to Yahweh Shai because he's given a command. But whoever those elect men are, more than likely the 144 going to be thrusting through other Israelites. But is it literal? It could be, but I'm not. I wouldn't say so. It just could be that they're getting judgment because they're prophesied to have to taste that fire. But then again, in Revelation 19, it says that he threw some of the beast armies in the lake of fire and then killed the rest. So you can be killed by the sword and then thrown into the lake of fire.
Okay, count the water. And then it was a brother in the chat, Aria, I believe his name is Aria Ira Yahweh. He was asking about 1 Thessalonians 4:17. I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but that was a question he had. I told him I would bring up if I came on stage.
Yeah, that's when it says we shall meet him in the clouds.
Yeah,
I would say that takes place around the time of the gathering. What would you say?
Count the water.
Yeah, the seventh trumpet when we get delivered. Shalom, King. Somebody says Isaiah 13:15. No, not that. Okay, well, y'all, it's been real, man. I labored for 3 weeks on this, and I'm glad it's over. I hope everybody's edified. I hope you're willing to humble yourself like I had to and say, man, we should have been reading for ourselves instead of, just accepting tradition. So with that being said, we're going to end this by giving all praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh. We do so by Hashem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Till next time, big G's, not the little ones, and Kwam Yasharala.
Sure.